The wind outside howled like a wild beast. Snow blew hard against the metal walls of the human research outpost on planet Tellerus 7. The storm had been raging for hours. Ethan sat near the small heater, wrapped in a thick coat, staring at a flickering screen. He was the only human for hundreds of miles. The mission was simple: observe the planet's weather patterns and send reports back to Earth Command. He had done this alone for 3 months. Then the alarm rang. A red light blinked above the entrance hatch. Movement detected. Something or someone was outside. Ethan stood quickly and checked the outside cameras. At first, all he saw was snow, then shadows, tall, thin shapes moving slowly in the storm. His heart raced. It couldn't be wildlife, not on this frozen rock. He opened the speaker line. "This is a human station," he said. "Identify yourself." There was no reply, only wind and the sound of footsteps crunching the ice. He hesitated, then grabbed his thermal rifle and walked to the hatch, opening it slightly. He saw them, 5 figures, cloaked in silver cloth. Their eyes glowed softly in the dark. They didn't attack. They just stood there, shivering. One stepped forward, a female. By her voice and shape, her skin was smooth and faintly blue, like frozen moonlight. She looked at him and spoke in broken English. "Please, we cold. No home. If I warm your bed, will you let us stay?" Ethan blinked. What did she just say? She looked serious, desperate. He lowered his weapon and stepped aside. "Come in, all of you." The 5 aliens entered the small outpost. It was tight, made for one person. They huddled near the heater. Their robes were soaked and torn. They looked weak and tired. Ethan handed them towels and warm packs. "My name is Ethan," he said. "I won't hurt you." "Who are you?" The same female replied. "Kellen. I lead. We ran. No more place to go." "Ran from what?" She looked down. "From fire. From sky." He didn't press further. "Not yet." As the heater hummed. Kellen sat close to him, her glowing eyes watching everything. She seemed to study his face like she was trying to read his thoughts. After a long silence, she whispered, "Sorry about before. Our words not same. Warming someone's bed. It mean peace, rest, no harm. I beg for kindness." Ethan nodded slowly. He now understood. It was a cultural phrase. Her people meant no disrespect. They were scared and asking for safety in the only way they knew. "You're safe here," he said. "Gently, as long as I'm alive. No one will hurt you." Kellen smiled, small but real. Later that night, as the aliens rested on the floor with borrowed blankets, Ethan sat near the radio trying to reach Earth Command. The storm blocked most signals, but he sent a message anyway, urgent, non-hostile. "Alien survivors found, requesting support, 5 total, peaceful, sheltering them until further orders." No reply came, only static. Outside, the storm grew stronger. But inside the tiny outpost, something else had taken root. Trust. And none of them knew that high above, hidden in the dark clouds, something else had seen the signal. Something that had burned other worlds before. But for now, they were safe. And for the first time in months, Ethan didn't feel alone. Morning came slowly on Tellerus 7. The sun was weak, hidden behind thick clouds, and the snowstorm still raged outside. Inside the small human outpost, Ethan woke up early. His body was sore from sleeping in a chair. But he didn't complain. He looked around the room. The 5 aliens were still asleep, curled up in their borrowed blankets, soft breathing, peaceful faces. Kellen was awake, though. She sat by the heater, her eyes watching the flames like they held a memory. When she noticed Ethan stirring, she gave him a small nod. "Did you sleep at all?" Ethan asked, rubbing his eyes. "A little," Kellen replied in her soft voice. "It is warm here. We are thankful." Ethan moved to the supply shelf and checked the food stock. The numbers weren't good. The station had enough food for one person for 60 days. Now with 6 people, the supply wouldn't last 2 weeks. He sighed and started heating some protein soup. As the smell filled the air, the other aliens began to wake up. One of them, younger and thinner than the rest, coughed badly. Kellen moved to his side and placed her hand on his forehead. Her face turned sad. He is weak, she said. His name is Surin. We had no food for many days before we found your station. Ethan handed her a warm cup. Give him this. It will help for now. Kellen nodded and fed the boy slowly. Surin drank with shaking hands, then lay back down. After breakfast, Ethan showed them the station's simple systems: water, filters, heater controls, the emergency rations. The aliens listened carefully. They were fast learners. One of them, a tall female named Myra, even figured out how to seal a cracked window using the repair foam. You're not just farmers, Ethan said while watching her work. Kellen smiled. We learn what we must to live. Our home taught us many things, but our home is gone now. What happened to it? Kellen didn't answer right away. Then she looked at the floor. We had peace for many years. Then something came, not from the sky, but from the dark between stars. It burned our soil, poisoned our rivers. Many ran. Some didn't make it. Ethan listened quietly. He felt a tight knot in his chest. He had read about wars and pirates in the outer zones, but this sounded different. Did you see what it was? Kellen shook her head. Only light and screaming. Outside, the wind hit the station again. Metal groaned. Ethan looked out the small window. The snow was now taller than the supply crates. Leaving the station was impossible. He returned to his console and checked for signals. Still no answer from Earth. Only the soft hiss of static. He tapped the side of the screen, as if it would help. Will your people help us? Kellen asked, walking to his side. I don't know, he admitted. I sent the message. If the storm clears, it might reach the satellite. Then maybe Command will send a ship. Kellen was silent for a moment. Then she looked into his eyes. Even if they do not. Thank you for letting us stay. Ethan smiled. You're not just staying. This is your home now too. Until we figure something out. As the day passed, Ethan taught them how to use the cleaning bots and helped them understand the small bathroom system. In return, the aliens showed him how to mix some of their herbs with water. One of the drinks helped with cold symptoms, another soothed muscle pain. Their knowledge was old, passed through stories, but it worked out. By evening, the station felt different. Not just a cold outpost, but a shared space full of quiet life. Laughter even came once. When one of the bots slipped and sprayed foam on Mira's feet, she yelped, then laughed. And the others joined in. Later, Kellen sat beside Ethan again. They shared a thin blanket near the heater. The room was dim, but warm. Why are you alone on this planet? Kellen asked. I volunteered, Ethan said. I like silence and stars. But maybe I also wanted to feel useful. Kellen tilted her head. You saved us. That is more than useful. Ethan chuckled softly. I just opened a door. No, she said. You opened more than that. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Nothing was spoken after that, but something was understood. Far above the clouds, something else moved, something that had seen the explosion on Kellen's homeworld. It followed signals, it followed heat, and now it had found the station. But, for now, inside the warm outpost, 6 souls rested, not knowing what was coming next. The storm outside began to ease after 3 long days. The snow stopped falling, but the thick clouds still hung low over the icy hills. The cold didn't go away, but the winds became calm for Ethan and the 5 alien survivors. The station had become more than just shelter. It had become a home for now. Ethan spent the morning checking supplies again. The numbers didn't improve. With the added mouths to feed, they had just 8 days of food left. Water was still okay, thanks to the filter unit. Energy was stable, but only if they kept the heater low during the night. He sighed and rubbed his forehead. He knew he had to do something, but before he could decide, Kellen came in holding a strange-looking plant in her hands. We found this under the snow, she said. It grows here. Maybe you can check if it's safe. Ethan took the plant and scanned it using the lab analyzer. After a few minutes, the screen showed it was non-toxic and rich in nutrients. He looked at Kellen, surprised. This is edible. How did you find it? My people know how to listen to the land, she said simply. even new land. That afternoon, the group searched nearby areas around the station while the sun peeked through the clouds. They found more of the strange root plant growing under a layer of ice. It wasn't much, but enough to stretch their food supply a few more days. Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could survive longer than expected, while the others rested. Kellen stayed behind with Ethan inside the station. She helped sort the plants and clean the tools. Both worked side by side. In silence, yet the quiet felt warm. Not empty, Ethan, Kellen said softly. Your world has many people, many ships. Why did they send only you to this cold place? Because it's quiet here, Ethan replied. Earth has too much noise sometimes. Out here, I can think. Kellen nodded. We lost our home because we trusted silence. Something came in that silence and destroyed everything. He looked at her, concerned. Can you tell me what it was? Not clearly, she said. We didn't see ships. We saw shadows, bright flashes, and then darkness. Our leaders called them voiders. We ran before we could learn more. Ethan frowned. Voiders? Kellen nodded again. Creatures or machines that do not speak. They take energy, destroy anything alive. Ethan stood and walked to his console. He typed the word voiders into the database. Nothing came up, not in human records, not in the known alien species list, nothing. His fingers froze over the keys. He felt something heavy in his chest. If they were real, and if they were unknown to the galaxy, it meant a threat beyond anything Earth had seen. Later that night, while everyone slept, Ethan went outside in a thermal suit. The air was cold but still. He looked up at the sky. The stars were finally visible. He pulled out a small transmitter and boosted the signal strength. He recorded a new message. Urgent report. Survivors from destroyed alien colony have shared possible info about a threat called voiders. Description unknown. Advise immediate contact. Location remains secure. I repeat, shelter remains secure. For now. He finished the message and sent it. Then he stood quietly, listening to the stillness. He didn't notice the small light blinking far above in the sky. The next day brought strange feelings. The group worked together as usual, cleaning, collecting roots, checking the heaters. But there was something unspoken between Ethan and Kellen now. She followed his words carefully, and he often looked at her when she wasn't speaking. Even the others noticed the closeness between them. That evening, after dinner, they all sat near the heater. Kellen pulled out a small crystal and began to hum softly. The crystal glowed faintly. The others joined in the hum. It was a song, though no one spoke a word. The melody filled the room with calm energy. Ethan sat back, feeling something warm in his heart, something he hadn't felt in a long time. When the song ended, Kellen looked at him and said, "It's a memory song. It holds the names of those we lost." Ethan nodded. "It's beautiful." She looked down, then whispered, "You gave us a place to sing again. That is something I will not forget." Outside, unnoticed, a dark object began to fall through the clouds. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He kept looking at the signal screen, hoping for a reply. There was none. But deep inside, something felt off. The stars were clear again, but they didn't bring peace. Instead, they made him feel exposed, like something was watching. Kellen woke early. She found Ethan near the console, eyes heavy from no sleep. She placed a warm drink beside him. "You didn't rest," she said quietly. Ethan shook his head. "I don't know why, but something feels wrong." Before she could answer, the alarm rang. It was the outer motion sensor. Something large had entered the scanning range. Ethan rushed to the camera feed. At first, there was nothing, just snow, rocks, and ice. Then, a shadow moved, slow, heavy, smooth like metal. Kylie stepped closer. Her face turned pale. "No. What is it?" Ethan asked. "That shape," she whispered. "It's like the ones we saw before the fall." Ethan adjusted the camera zoom. It showed a dark object sitting on a hill not far from the station. It was not a ship like human ones. It looked like a tall tower with curved legs. No lights, no windows, but it pulsed slowly with blue energy. "Everyone, wake up, now!" Ethan shouted. The others jumped to their feet, startled and confused. Kellen explained quickly, her voice calm but firm. They had to prepare to move, just in case. "Move where?" Ethan said. "We can't go far." The storm barely cleared. Kellen looked at the snowy hills. "We hide. If we stay, it will find us." Ethan nodded. He opened a hidden hatch below the floor. It led to a narrow tunnel used for storing backup batteries. It was small but could fit them all if they stayed close. "Get inside," he told them. "I'll join you after setting the decoy." Kellen grabbed his arm. "You can't fight it alone." "I'm not fighting it," Ethan replied. "Just distracting it." He went to the storage room and pulled out a broken mining drone. It had enough power for short movement. He filled it with heat cells and attached a small explosive pack. Kellen followed him to the airlock. The others were already crawling into the tunnel below. The snow outside was glowing faintly blue now, not from the sky but from the strange tower on the hill. "If anything happens to me, stay hidden," Ethan said. Kellen looked into his eyes. "I said before, warming a bed means bringing peace. You brought peace to us. Now we want you to live." "I plan to," he smiled. He opened the airlock and stepped into the cold. Ethan walked slowly, the drone behind him, leaving deep tracks in the snow. The tower didn't move, but it began to hum, a deep sound that made his chest feel tight. It was like the air itself was pushing against him. He sent the drone ahead, toward the tower. The blue light on the tower began to pulse faster. Then, a long arm unfolded from its side, smooth, silent. It reached for the drone. Ethan waited. Just a few more steps. The drone beeped once, then exploded. The blast shook the hill. Snow flew everywhere. The tower cracked down the middle, falling sideways. Pieces rolled down into the ice. Ethan dropped behind a rock, covering his face. His ears rang, and his head throbbed. But he was alive. The alien machine was not. Back in the station, Kellen watched from the window. When she saw the tower fall, and Ethan stand again, she let out a breath she had been holding. Minutes later, he returned, bruised but smiling. "It's gone," he said. "For now." The group came out from hiding, eyes wide, voices quiet. Myra ran up and hugged Ethan tightly. "Søren, still weak," whispered. "You're like a warrior in our stories." Ethan shook his head. "I'm just a man who didn't want to lose his new friends." Kellen walked to him. She didn't speak. Instead, she gently touched his hand and held it. The gesture said more than words. That night, they repaired the hatch and cleaned the tunnel. The sky remained clear. No more strange shapes above, but none of them slept deeply. They now knew the danger was real. The thing that came from above wasn't the only one. Others could follow. Others might already be watching. But even with that fear, one truth remained strong: they were no longer strangers. They were family. Now. The morning after the blast was cold and silent. The sky stayed clear, and the snow-covered hills looked peaceful again. It was hard to believe that just hours ago, a strange alien machine had landed and nearly destroyed everything. But it was gone now. Its broken pieces still lay frozen near the hill. Inside the station, Ethan patched up the last damage to the wall. Kellen helped him hold the metal plate steady while he sealed the cracks with foam. "You should rest," she said softly. "Your face still has cuts." Ethan smiled weakly. "I'll rest after I know the station won't fall apart." Kellen looked at him with concern. His hands were shaking slightly. He hadn't eaten much, and he hadn't slept since the explosion. Behind them, Søren and the others worked quietly. Myra cleaned the tools, and two others tried to organize the food. Storage. The teamwork between humans and aliens had become natural now. No one questioned orders. No one complained. They all knew survival depended on each other. "How much food left?" Ethan asked, walking to the supply counter. Søren checked the boxes. "Maybe for days. But we can find more." "Roots again." Ethan nodded. "Good. But we need more than that, and I still haven't heard from command." He walked back to the console and opened the comms again. He repeated the emergency message with stronger signal settings. Still, there was only static, It's like no one is out there, he muttered. Kylie and sat beside him. Maybe they hear you. Maybe they come. I hope so, Ethan said, but we can't wait forever. That evening, they gathered around the heater. The light inside the station was dim, but the warmth of the fire made the small room feel like home. They shared the last protein packs and boiled some of the alien roots with clean water. It wasn't much, but it filled their stomachs. Kylie sat beside Ethan. Her eyes followed the flames. Then she spoke. When our people lived on our world, we told stories each night. It helped us forget the darkness. Ethan leaned back. Tell me one. She smiled and looked at the others. Then she began. Long ago, in our old sky, there was a bird made of stars. It flew from one moon to the next, carrying dreams. The people who saw it were given gifts, healing, wisdom, or peace. But the bird would only appear to those with kind hearts, CERN added. Some say the bird still flies, but hides from war and fear. Ethan listened, feeling something warm in his chest. I like that story. We think you saw the bird, Kellen whispered, when you opened your door to us. He looked at her, surprised. You think I have a kind heart, yes? She said, you had no reason to help us, but you did. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he reached for the blanket behind them and wrapped it around both their shoulders. Kellen didn't move away. They sat like that for a long time, saying nothing, just watching the heater glow. Outside, the sky grew darker. Far above, a human satellite finally caught Ethan's message and sent it through space. Miles away on a military command ship orbiting a different planet, a signal officer stood up quickly. Sir, she said, we just received a distress beacon from Telora 7, isolated human outpost. Mentioned alien survivors and unknown threat called Voiders. The commander frowned. Voiders? No record in database, sir. The commander turned toward the map. Plot a course to Telora 7. Prepare a rescue shuttle. Back on the frozen planet, the group went to sleep one by one. Ethan stayed awake a little longer. He stepped outside with a thermal coat, breathing slowly in the sharp air. The stars above were bright and calm. It didn't feel like a dead world anymore. Not with laughter inside the station. Not with Kellen's stories still echoing in his mind. He looked toward the broken pieces of the tower machine. They were still there, half buried in snow, silent. But something deep inside him knew the danger wasn't over. That thing didn't come alone. And next time, it might be stronger. As he walked back inside, he whispered to himself, we need help, and we need to be ready. Inside, Kellen opened her eyes as if she had heard him. She looked at the door, her thoughts quiet but strong. Soon, the night would end. And with the rising sun, something would come, something that would change everything again. The next morning brought something none of them expected, a sound in the sky. Not thunder, not wind, but the soft humming of engines. Ethan ran outside and looked up. Through the thin clouds, a small human rescue ship appeared, its lights blinking like a signal of hope. They came, Ethan whispered. The ship landed slowly on the flat snow patch near the station. The door opened with a hiss, and 3 humans stepped out, the soldiers and a field medic. They wore thick suits and helmets with blinking visors. Ethan waved and walked toward them. The lead soldier lowered her helmet. You're Ethan Cross, she asked. Yes, he said. You got my message. We did. We read about the alien survivors and the threat you called Voiders. Command sent us to confirm and help evacuate. Ethan looked back at the station. Kellen and the others stood at the doorway, watching carefully. Their faces showed both hope and fear. They're peaceful, Ethan said. They didn't cause any trouble. They only wanted shelter. The medic stepped forward. We'll run some health scans, but if they're non-hostile, they're welcome to board. Command is willing to take them to the refugee sector on Vega Outpost. They'll be safe there? Ethan asked. Yes, it's built for displaced species, food, housing, and medical care. Ethan turned in motion for Kellen and her people to come closer. Kellen walked carefully, her eyes scanning the humans. She stopped in front of the lead soldier and spoke softly. We are not here to harm. We only want peace. The soldier nodded. You're welcome with us. Come. They entered the ship one by one. The medic scanned them for health and gave Cern a nutrient pack. The boy's face lit up as the warmth returned to his cheeks. Inside the ship, it was warmer, cleaner, and much bigger than the outpost. The group sat together near a large window. They looked out at the snowy planet that had been their home, even for a short while. Ethan stayed outside a moment longer, walking slowly back to the station to gather his things. He stood in the room one last time. It looked empty now, no sound. No laughter, no warm stories by the heater. He picked up the small crystal Kellen used to sing with. It had been left near the heater. He held it tightly, then slipped it into his coat pocket. Kellen met him at the door. You're not staying? She asked. Ethan looked at her, eyes tired but warm. Not this time. If you're going, I'm going. But this is your home, she said. He shook his head. It was, until he arrived. Now, I think home is where you all are. She smiled, softly. Then come. We will warm each other's lives from now on. As the ship lifted off, the station grew smaller and smaller below them. Kellen sat beside Ethan, their hands close but not touching. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He didn't move away. What happens now? She asked. We build something better, he said. On board the ship, the lead soldier spoke to command. We've retrieved the survivors, she said, and we recovered something else too. What is it? Came the voice from the radio. A sample of alien tech, part of the Voider machine that was destroyed. We're bringing it for analysis. The voice paused, then replied, Good. We may need to understand them before they strike again. And known to all of them, far beyond the stars, a signal had been sent. Not from the broken tower, but from something watching even deeper in the dark. The Voiders had noticed the resistance. They had seen a single human protect 5 refugees. And they had felt something strange in that moment, something they didn't expect from any species. Care, sacrifice, love. They didn't understand it, but they marked it. And they would return. But for now, and the rescue ship flying toward the stars. Kellen and Ethan sat together, not knowing what would come next. But they knew they would face it side by side. The rescue ship floated through space, calm and silent. Inside, the lights were soft, and the engines hummed gently like a song. It had been 2 days since they left Tellerus 7. 2 days since the cold and danger were behind them. But for Ethan, it still didn't feel real. He sat near the large window, watching the stars drift by. Kellen sat beside him, quiet as always. Her people were resting in the back section, finally sleeping without fear. Do you miss it? She asked. The planet? Ethan looked at her and nodded. A little. It was lonely, but it was mine. I thought that's what I wanted. But now, maybe I was just waiting for something to change. And did it change? He smiled faintly. You changed it. Kellen looked down at her hands, then whispered. I never thought I would find peace again. I thought we would all fade away in the snow. But that night, when you opened the door, something impossible happened. You survived, Ethan said. We found family, she replied. He said nothing after that. The silence between them was no longer heavy. It was soft, comfortable, like a quiet fire burning low. The next day, the ship docked at Vega Outpost, a massive human-built station near a blue star. Lights sparkled across its surface like a floating city. Inside, there were markets, gardens, and living areas for many kinds of life forms. Refugees, traders, scientists, and peacekeepers all walked its halls. Ethan led the group out of the ship. Kellen walked close to him, her eyes wide as she looked around. Her people followed. Quiet but alert. A kind-looking officer greeted them. Welcome. We have prepared rooms and food. The medics will check on you. After that, you may rest and decide if you want to stay here. Kellen gave a polite nod. Thank you. As they walked to their new living space, Cern ran ahead, laughing as he saw a garden full of tall, glowing plants. He touched them gently, then called out, This place feels alive. For the first time, his voice was full of joy. The others smiled. Even Myra, who had spoken little during the journey, laughed softly. Their rooms were simple but warm, soft beds, clean air, and real food. No fear of cold machines falling from the sky. No wind howling outside. That night, they all gathered in the shared room. Kellen lit her memory crystal and hummed her song again. But this time, it was different, softer, gentler, not only remembering the past but also holding onto hope. Ethan sat beside her. When the song ended, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something. "I've been keeping this," he said, placing a small carved piece of wood into her hands. It was the shape of a bird, simple but beautiful. Kellen looked at it, surprised. "What is this?" "You told me a story about a bird made of stars," Ethan said. "I wanted you to have one." Her eyes filled with quiet tears. "You remembered." "Of course." She held the carving close to her chest. "This will be the first gift in our new story." They sat together for a while, not speaking, just feeling the peace around them. In the days that followed, Kellen and her people helped around the outpost. They shared knowledge about plants, healing songs, and simple ways to keep balance in small spaces. The humans welcomed them, slowly at first, then with open arms. Ethan was offered a new position, station liaison, someone who connects different species and helps them live together. He accepted. Kylie stood with him when the announcement was made. She whispered, "I said I would warm your bed. I meant your life." He looked at her and smiled. "You warmed more than that. You gave me a reason to keep going." As time passed, no other void machines came. Maybe they were watching. Maybe they were waiting. But for now, the sky was quiet. One evening, as the stars shined outside the windows, Kellen placed her hand on Ethan's. "If one day danger returns, will we still stand together?" "Yes," he said. "Whatever comes, we face it together." She leaned her head on his shoulder again, and in that moment, surrounded by life, peace, and the memory of survival, they both knew something impossible had happened, and it had changed everything forever.